Hello everyone, my name is E.D.N.A, and in this video I'm going to be talking about E.D.N.A, the first boss in Stonevault. E.D.N.A often comes up as one of the more annoying bosses to heal, so I'll go over the mechanics, how to handle them, and include footage of me actually playing the boss. I do play with a pre-made group, including an Org Evoker, so we do have coordinated defensives, but the basic approach should be more or less the same in any group. Let's get into it. E.D.N.A has 4 mechanics to look out for. The main one that everything else revolves around is volatile spikes. Each time the boss casts this, it puts 3 spikes under players. Standing in them triggers an explosion which deals heavy damage and applies a dot to the whole group, so you'll want to avoid doing this. The next mechanic is refracting beam. This goes on all players and creates a line through them that breaks any spikes in the path. This triggers the dot from the spike break and deals moderate damage. We'll be using these beams to break the spikes. The third mechanic is Earth Shatterer. This is an AoE slam on the whole group, which breaks any remaining spikes and applies a stack of the dot to all players for each spike broken. The last thing to mention is the tank mechanic, Seismic Smash. This applies a debuff to the tank that when dispelled gives them a 50% damage reduction for 6 seconds. This debuff lasts just long enough that you can dispel it before the next Seismic Smash, and always be giving the tank a DR for every cast. Timing this correctly is very important, and probably the #1 source of confusion for healers in this encounter. There's a weak aura I use for this, which I've linked in the description, and I mention the dispel timing in the healing section later. Managing the spike breaks and the dot stacks is the key to doing this fight correctly. I've created this timeline of the boss's abilities to help you plan out your cooldowns and defensives in advance. The boss always casts Spike, Beam, Shatter in that order, so you should never be surprised, and as the healer I would recommend that you be the one to break the spikes so that you have the most control over the damage intake. The most common strategy is to break 2 spikes per beam set and let the Earth Shatter break the final 2. This keeps the dot to a modest level and prevents any one phase from becoming overwhelming. I would recommend doing this in a pug group or in a disorganized group. The other method is to break 3 spikes per beam set and not break any on the Earth Shatter. This means heavier dots on the 2 cycles, but it does mean the slam has no follow-up damage and lets you get back to cat form more quickly. This is the method my group uses, but it does rely a lot more on coordinated defensive play. Now that we've gone over all the mechanics, let's talk about actually healing the boss. Ideally, you want everyone stacked up to bait the spikes around the same location, and then move as a group so everyone stays in your airflow. I've slowed down the footage while I go over the details. You'll prepare for the damage in much the same way as you do for all group-wide damage as Druid, which includes airflow down on the ground beforehand, both of your life blooms out on good targets, ideally 2 squishy DPS, Cenarion Ward used prior to the damage if you talent it, either on yourself or on the 3rd DPS, precast some rejuves for extra healing and mastery stacks if you need them, cast a Grove Guardian or 2 so that they're up and casting during the damage, and then right before the damage comes is when you'll want to dispel the tank. The first smash does not have a debuff, so you may want to consider using your Iron Bark on the tank here, but every other one will have a dispel. Right before the damage occurs, you've dispelled the tank, and you want to precast a Wild Growth, and then precast a Regrowth on a non-life bloom target to land after the damage occurs. As Wild Stalker, you're an excellent choice for this Regrowth as it will be buffed by 35%. Following this, you'll Swiftmend someone that needs the healing, which will also extend your HOTS if you're playing with Verdant Infusion, and then simply regrowth anyone else that needs healing as many times as necessary to triage. This is the bread and butter of Resto Druid healing, and you'll repeat this for all of the damage events. You'll need to use your own judgment on when to use your other short cooldowns like Bark Skin, Renewal, Nature's Swiftness, Iron Bark, and whether you use Convoke for damage or to cover the healing. Damage reductions are best saved for when they can cover 2 of the damage events, which would usually mean using them on the 2nd beam in each cycle, so that they're still up for the slam. Good planning is key to doing this boss correctly, and that should cover more or less everything you need to know. I'll let the rest of the footage roll. Enjoy, and thank you for watching.